Have you ever felt a sudden, ice-cold certainty that your life was a lie? It hit me not in a dramatic confrontation, but in the quiet hum of a Tuesday night, the glow of my wife's laptop screen painting a ghostly light on my face. She was asleep, breathing softly in the bed we'd shared for a decade, oblivious. My own laptop had died, and I just needed to send one quick email for work. "Just use mine, honey," she'd said earlier, a casual, trusting offer. But as her email client opened, a single, unread message at the top of her inbox from a David K. felt like a siren in the silence. The subject line was just 2 words: "Tonight, again." My finger hovered over the trackpad, a tremor running up my arm. I knew, with a gut-wrenching finality, that clicking on it would either confirm my deepest fear or make me the most paranoid husband alive. That single click was the beginning of the end. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. For 10 years, Jessica was my world. We built a life in a brownstone in Lincoln Park, Chicago. Our weekends were spent at farmers markets and walking along the lakefront. I thought we had the kind of marriage people envied. But for the last 6 months, a subtle chill had crept in. She was working late more often, blaming a demanding new project. Phone calls became hushed whispers the moment I entered a room. When I'd ask who it was, she'd wave a dismissive hand, "Just work." "Mark, you wouldn't understand." She started guarding her phone like it was a state secret, its screen always angled away from me. The intimacy we shared faded into a polite, sterile routine. She became a stranger in my own home, her eyes holding a cool, distant look I didn't recognize. She made me feel small, as if my questions were an annoyance, my concern a burden. The woman I loved was gone, replaced by a cold, manipulative imposter who seemed to delight in her own untouchability. That night, staring at the laptop, the email confirmed everything. It wasn't just an email, it was a thread. A long, sordid history of their affair. "Can't wait to feel your hands on me again," one of her messages read. "Mark is so clueless. It's almost sad," David had replied. They talked about their nights at the Peninsula Hotel off Michigan Avenue, about the little lies she told me, laughing at my gullibility. Each word was a fresh stab to the heart. I felt the air leave my lungs, a physical collapse from the inside out. I stumbled back from the desk, my hand covering my mouth, to stifle a sob. The life I knew, the future I'd planned, the woman I adored, it was all a fabrication. Humiliation washed over me, hot and suffocating. I wasn't just a husband. I was a punchline in their sick little joke. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark, the city lights of Chicago blurring through my tears, and something inside me broke. The loyal, loving husband died, and in his place, a cold, strategic anger began to form. My first instinct was to scream, to wake her up and shatter our world right then. But her words from the email echoed in my head. "Mark is so clueless." They thought I was a fool. I decided I would not be a fool. I would be their ruin. The next morning, I was a different man. I made her coffee, kissed her goodbye as she left for work, and smiled with the warmth of a predator. My grief was now fuel. I spent the day meticulously planning. I used a simple keystroke logger on her laptop, a ghost in her machine, capturing every password, every message, every secret. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop who specialized in marital infidelity. He was expensive, but vengeance had a price. He got me everything. Photos of them kissing in a parking garage in the Loop, hotel receipts, even a recording of them in a booth at a downtown diner, mocking me. "He's so predictable." Jessica's voice dripped with disdain. "He thinks a weekend trip to Lake Geneva will fix us." I listened to it until the words lost their meaning, until all I felt was ice. The trap was set. Jessica had been pushing for us to reevaluate our finances, a thinly veiled attempt to secure a favorable position before she inevitably left me. She'd been working with David, a financial analyst, to move assets. I let her. I played the part of the cooperative, slightly dim-witted husband. I agreed to a joint meeting with our new financial advisor, a man I knew was her lover. The meeting was scheduled at a glass-walled conference room in a high-rise overlooking the Chicago River. It was her stage. She was ready for her final performance. What she didn't know was that I had already met with the senior partners of David's firm presenting. then with a file detailing his unethical and unprofessional conduct with a client's wife, including using company resources to facilitate their affair. I had also filed for divorce that morning, citing adultery, with a mountain of evidence that would leave her with nothing. My lawyer, a shark in a tailored suit, was waiting for my signal. I walked into that conference room, and the sight of them sitting together, so smug and confident, almost made me laugh. They looked at me with a mixture of pity and impatience. "Mark, thanks for coming," Jessica began, her voice smooth as silk. "David was just explaining a new investment strategy that I think we should." I held up a hand, stopping her mid-sentence. I dropped a thick manila folder onto the polished table. It landed with a heavy final thud. "What's this?" she asked, her smile faltering. I looked from her to David, whose face had suddenly gone pale. "That," I said, my voice calm and steady, "is our divorce petition. It's also a copy of the evidence file I sent to your firm's ethics committee, David. Photos, emails, recordings, all of it." Jessica's face crumbled. The arrogance vanished, replaced by pure, unadulterated panic. She opened the folder, her hands shaking, and saw a picture of herself kissing David outside the hotel. Her head snapped up, her eyes wide with horror. You knew?" she whispered. At that moment, 2 senior partners from the firm entered the conference room. They didn't even look at me. Their cold, furious gaze was locked on David. "David," one of them said, his voice like stone, "pack your desk. You're done." The aftermath was a symphony of destruction. David was fired and blacklisted, his career in finance vaporized. Jessica, exposed and humiliated, was left with nothing but the clothes on her back and the legal bills. Our friends, who had been fed her lies for months, saw the truth and turned their backs on her. The court sided with me on every count. The brownstone, the savings, the life we built, it was all mine. She was socially, legally, and emotionally destroyed, a ghost in a life she had torched with her own hands. I sold the house and moved downtown into a sterile, modern apartment with a view of the city she used to love. Sometimes I stand at the window and look out at the endless grid of lights, a city full of stories. I don't feel triumph or joy, only a profound, chilling emptiness. I got my revenge, but it cost me everything I ever was. My life is quiet now, and in the silence, I learned that some victories are indistinguishable from a loss. The end.